The blade that chose no one long ago, on a distant planet called Ziran, there stood a black stone tower. Inside this tower was something ancient, something powerful. It was a weapon known as the Zerolith blade. Made by a forgotten race, the blade could only be held by someone it chose. Many tried. None succeeded. Alien warriors from every corner of the galaxy came to Ziran to test their worth. Some were strong, others wise. Some were fearless, but the blade rejected them all. It stayed silent, cold, still. The legend said, when the true bearer arrives, the blade will awaken. Centuries passed. The blade remained untouched, until one strange day, everything changed. In the lower levels of the alien base, a human technician named Raiden walked through a narrow hallway. He was not a warrior. He fixed wires, cleaned panels, and made sure machines didn't explode. He was sent to check a broken energy line near the old tower. Raiden didn't care much for alien legends. He only wanted to finish work and get some rest. But the tower door was open. That was strange. It was never open. Hello? Raiden called, stepping inside. The room was silent. The air was cold. In the center of the chamber stood the blade, tall, black, sharp, glowing slightly with blue veins. It was floating in the air, surrounded by ancient symbols. Raiden walked closer. He didn't mean to. It felt like something was pulling him forward. His hand raised slowly. He touched the blade. A flash of white light exploded in the room. The ground shook. The tower roared with energy. The blade, silent for 1,000 years, came alive. The symbols on the walls lit up. The blade turned warm in Raiden's hand. It did not reject him. Outside the tower, alarms rang. Alien guards rushed to the chamber. Council members arrived, wide-eyed and shocked. They stared at the human, holding the blade. "This cannot be," one elder whispered. "It's a mistake." Raiden looked confused. I didn't mean to. I touched it." The blade glowed brighter. "Remove him." A tall alien with silver skin shouted. "Humans are not warriors. They're not even part of the trials." Raiden tried to drop the blade. It didn't fall. It stayed in his hand like it was part of him. Whispers filled the chamber. It chose him. A human? Is this the end of the prophecy or the start of a disaster? They took Raiden to the High Council. Questions flew at him. Who was he? How did he get in? Why did the blade respond? Raiden had no answers. He was just doing his job. One old alien, with deep red eyes, stared at him quietly. He said, "The blade does not choose by race or strength. It chooses by spirit. Perhaps it sees something in him." But many did not agree. The blade has rejected our best warriors. It cannot accept someone like him. He's not trained. He is weak. Raiden felt small, out of place. The blade still hung gently in his hand. Later that night, locked in a metal room, Raiden sat alone. He looked at the blade. It now rested beside him, floating gently. "Why me?" he whispered. The blade pulsed once, a soft glow. Then he saw something. A vision. A battle. Fire in the sky. Alien armies fighting a dark shadow. And at the center, someone holding the blade. It was not him. It was someone else. Long ago. He gasped. The vision ended. Was it a memory? The blade's memory? He touched it again. Nothing happened. Outside his room, the council argued. "We must take the blade back. We must test the human. If he fails, we destroy him. If the blade made a mistake, it could bring war." But deep in the shadows of the city, a figure listened. A warrior who had trained all his life to hold the blade. And failed. He clenched his fists. "If the blade won't choose me, then no one will have it." The story had just begun. The human who shouldn't be chosen room was cold, silent. Only the quiet hum of energy filled the air. Rayden sat in the center of a glowing circle, his wrists tied by a strange silver rope. Alien guards watched from all sides. His clothes were torn. Dust covered his face. But his eyes were fixed on one thing, the blade floating just inches away, still pulsing with soft blue light. He had touched it. Now everything had changed. Above him, the High Council watched from a raised platform. 12 alien leaders, each from a different world, spoke in low, angry voices. They were not ready for this. No one was. He is not one of us. He didn't earn the right. The blade made a mistake. But the oldest council member, Elder Siren, raised a thin, shaking hand. Silence fell. The blade does. Not make mistakes, Siren said slowly. It simply waits until the right soul comes. The others disagreed. Voices rose. Arguments echoed through the chamber, but deep below, in Rayden's heart, a storm was building. He had seen the blade's memory, a war, a warrior, a dark enemy, and he had felt something, like the blade had spoken to him. Yet he was afraid. He wasn't a fighter. He wasn't special. He was just a human technician, born on a mining station, raised by machines. Why had the blade chosen him? He didn't know, but someone else did. In the shadows beyond the council hall, a tall alien stood still. His name was Vorak, a legendary warrior who had trained since childhood to claim the blade. He had faced trials, survived battles. He had failed. The blade had rejected him. And now, a human held what was meant to be his. His eyes burned. With rage, the blade chose wrong, Vorak whispered. And I will fix it. Meanwhile, Rayden was taken to a private chamber. Guards followed close. The blade hovered behind him, as if protecting him. Inside the chamber stood Siren. He was older than most could guess. His skin was marked with golden lines, proof he had once touched the blade too, long ago. But it had not chosen him either. Do you know why the blade chose you? Siren asked. Rayde shook his head. I don't understand any of this. Siren looked at him for a long time. Then he placed a small crystal on the table. It glowed, and a vision appeared, a burning planet, an army of shadow creatures, and one man standing between them and the stars. The same vision Rayden had seen before. This was the last bearer, Siren said. He sealed a great evil, the Voidborn, inside a prison made from light and metal. But the prison is weakening. The blade has awakened, because the threat is rising again. Rayden stepped back. You think I'm supposed to fight that? Siren nodded. You're wrong, Rayden said, his voice shaking. I'm not a hero. I fix wires. I clean coolant leaks. I don't even know how to hold a sword. Siren stared into Rayden's eyes. Neither did the first bearer. Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered. Alarms screamed across the city. Someone had breached the inner gates. We're under attack. A guard shouted. Says YRN turned to Rayden. Stay here. Do not leave this room. But as the elder and the guards rushed out, the blade pulsed again. Harder, faster. Rayde and felt a pull, like the blade wanted to move. He reached for it. In that instant, the wall exploded. Smoke filled the room. A tall figure stepped through the fire. Vorak. His armor was black. His eyes glowed red with fury. You should never have touched it, he growled. Rayden stumbled. Back. I didn't choose it. It chose me. Vorak drew a jagged blade. Then it made a mistake, and I'm going to correct it. The Zerolith blade rose on its own, glowing brighter than ever. It moved between Rayden and Vorak, like a shield. Vorak attacked. A wave of energy burst out as his sword clashed with the floating blade. Raiden was thrown across the room. The blade vibrated, angry now. It spun once and sent a shockwave through the chamber. Vorek flew back, smashing into the wall. He growled, "This isn't over." As he escaped into the smoke, guards rushed in. Raiden was shaken, breathing hard. The blade returned to his side. "Why are you protecting me?" He whispered. The blade pulsed once. Then his vision blurred again. Another flash from the past. This time he saw something different. Human, but not him, not a child. A girl, holding a glowing shard of the blade, hidden deep in a desert on Earth. Rayden gasped. Was there more than one? Was this just the beginning? As the council dealt with the attack, and Siren called for an emergency decision, one thing was now clear. The blade had not just chosen a bearer, it had started a war. The trial of Fire Three Suns rose over the skies of Zirain, casting golden light across the metallic towers and shadowed ruins. But deep beneath the city, in the ancient halls of the old arena, light could not reach. There, in the cold silence, Raiden stood alone. A new trial was about to begin. Around him, symbols on the floor slowly glowed. One by one, the chamber awakened, a forgotten place built long ago by the first creators of the Zeralith blade. Few had ever entered. None had ever passed. This was the trial of fire. The High Council had made their decision. If the blade truly chose Raiden, then he would prove himself here. If he failed, the blade would be taken, and he would be exiled. Or worse. Rayd, Ian single quotes as hands were shaking. "I shouldn't be here," he whispered. But the blade floated beside him, calm and steady. A voice echoed through the chamber. "Step forward, bearer. Your soul will be judged." Stone doors opened. Heat rushed in like a wave. The first chamber was waiting. As Raiden entered, the walls lit up with fire. Shapes moved within the flames. Memories, visions, fears. A creature stepped forward. It had no face. It wore a cloak of black smoke. Its voice echoed like 10 whispers at once. "Who are you?" Raiden stepped back. "I'm Raiden." "I don't know what I'm doing here." The creature's eyes flashed. It raised a hand. Suddenly, Raiden saw his past. A young boy, hiding during a station fire, watching his family disappear behind locked doors. Guilt, helplessness, silence. The blade trembled beside him. "You are weak," the creature hissed. "You were always weak." Raiden fell to his knees. But then the blade pulsed brighter. His eyes opened. "I survived," he said. "I never ran. I stayed. I lived." He reached out, and the blade came to his hand. With a flash of light, the creature vanished. The fire faded. The first chamber was complete, but the trials were far from over. Next came the trial of beasts. A wide arena, filled with black mist. Stone pillars crumbled as something massive moved through the fog. Claws scraped. The ground. A roar shook the air. From the darkness stepped a creature, 6-legged, armored, eyes glowing red. It was not alive, not dead either. It was built to destroy. Rayd, Ian raised the blade. But it felt heavy now, slow. He wasn't a warrior. Not yet. The beast charged. Rayd, Ian barely dodged, rolling across the ground. The blade clashed with the beast's metal hide, but did no damage. He ran, jumped, climbed a fallen column. The beast followed, smashing everything in its path. His heart pounded. He couldn't win this. But then, the blade whispered. Not in words, not in feelings. Images, instructions. His eyes widened. He leapt down, landing on the beast's back. He stabbed the blade between its armor plates. The blade flashed, releasing a burst of energy. The beast screamed, then fell. The mist cleared. Second trial complete. Raiden collapsed to the ground, breathing hard. But he didn't feel weak anymore. He felt. Chosen dot above, in a hidden viewing room, Elder Siren watched with quiet approval. The others, less so. He's surviving, one counselor muttered. For now, another growled. But he must still face the final trial. But in the dark, someone else watched VOR rack. He was not finished using stolen codes. He entered the lower sectors. His armor had been repaired. His hatred sharpened. Let the blade test him all at once, he said coldly. In the end, I'll break him. Meanwhile, Raiden entered the final chamber. The walls were mirrors. But not normal mirrors. These showed versions of him that did not exist. In one, he was a warlord, feared and cruel. In another, he was dead on the ground. In another, he ruled planets with fire. Then the real mirror showed him. Just himself, small, unsure. The blade floated between them. A voice echoed, "This is the final trial. The blade does not serve power. It serves truth. Look inside. What do you see?" Raiden stared at his reflection. He saw his fear, his doubt, his anger, his sadness. But beneath it all, he saw something else. Hope. He closed his eyes. "I don't want power," he said softly. "I just don't want to run anymore." The blade glowed so bright that the mirrors shattered. A wave of energy spread across the chamber. Outside, the ground shook. Lights flickered across Zirin. Something had changed. Raiden stepped out of the chamber. The blade floated beside him, now completely bonded. He was no longer just holding it. He was connected to it. The High Council stood in stunned silence. Elder Siren nodded. He passed all of them. But before anything more could be said, the alarm screamed again. This time, louder. An entire sector was under attack. From within. Vorak had struck, and he wasn't alone. Behind him, strange dark machines moved, glowing with a red light none had seen before. And far above, in the cold space near Zirin's orbit, something ancient stirred. A prison was cracking. Asterisk. The betrayal within. Beneath the twin moons of Ziran, the city burned. Flames rose from the eastern tower as shadows moved through the streets like hungry wolves. Alarms echoed across the sky. Civilians ran for shelter. Council guards clashed with strange red-eyed machines, fast, silent, brutal. Rayden stood on the highest balcony of the trial hall, staring at the chaos below. The blade floated beside him, glowing fiercely. This wasn't just an attack. This was a message. And it came from inside. Behind him, Elder Siren approached quietly. "They're not from any known faction," he said. "These machines, they're older than our archives." Raiden clenched his fists. "How did they get past our defense walls?" Siren looked away. "They didn't come through the walls. They came from beneath the city." A chill ran through Raiden. "What are you not telling me?" Siren's silence said enough. The old alien led him to a hidden chamber, far below the council tower. Ancient lights flickered on as they entered. A secret vault filled with forgotten relics, maps, old weapons, and a giant stasis pod, sealed in red crystal. 500 years ago, Siren began, a piece of the Voidborn escaped the prison. It landed here, deep beneath Zirin. We sealed it, but never destroyed it. Raiden stared at the pod. Dark smoke swirled inside, forming something like a face. Something watching him. "You kept this hidden from the council?" Raiden asked. "We had to," Siren said. "Fear spreads faster than truth. If they knew, the council would destroy the planet." Suddenly, the blade glowed red. Not bright angry. It hovered toward the crystal and pulsed hard. A whisper entered Raiden's mind. "The seal is breaking." But before he could ask more, A tremor shook the ground. The vault lights died. From the darkness came a sound metal dragging across stone. Raiden turned, just as a spear shot from the shadow. He blocked it with the blade, sparks flying. Then a familiar voice echoed from the dark. So this is where the truth sleeps. Varek stepped out, his armor cracked, but burning with strange red light. His eyes no longer glowed with anger, but with something worse. Certainty. Double quotes. You lied to us, Siran, he said. You kept the Voidborn hidden, while we bled for the blade. Raiden stepped forward. You don't know what you're doing, don't I? Varek laughed. I spent my life preparing for the blade, and now I know why it rejected me, because it wanted a puppet. He raised a strange device. The machines from earlier, the Shadow Walkers, rushed into the chamber behind him. You think the blade will save you, human? Varek sneered. Watch what happens when it's turned against you. He threw a crystal bomb toward the stasis pod. Rayde and reacted without thinking. He dove forward, the blade leading his movement, cutting through the air. The bomb exploded mid-flight, showering the room with shards of light. But one shard struck the pod. The red crystal cracked. A low hum filled the room, deep, like something waking up after centuries of sleep. Smoke began to leak. Syr Ran gasped. You've doomed us all. Varek vanished into the shadows with his machines. Rayden turned to Siren. We have to stop it. No, Siren said, trembling. We can't, not now. The seal must be reforged, and only one person can do it. He looked at Raiden. Me? Raiden asked. Why me? Because the blade is not just a weapon. It is a key, and you are its lock. Before Raiden could reply, council guards stormed in, but they weren't here to help. They raised their weapons. By order of the council, their leader announced, Raiden is under arrest for endangering the city and releasing the Voidborn. Fragment. Raiden stepped back, shocked. What? I didn't do this. Varek is dead, the guard lied. Killed in your explosion. Raiden looked at Siren, but Siren said nothing. A betrayal, not just from Varek. From the council itself. Raiden was taken, bound again in silver rope. The blade tried to follow, but was trapped inside a containment cube. They placed Raiden in a black prison, far below the city. No windows, no light. Just silence. But he was not alone. The blade pulsed faintly inside his mind, and a new vision appeared. Earth. But not as it was. In ruins. Skies red, buildings falling, shadows walking freely. A voice, clear this time, echoed in his skull. The prison cracks. The seal breaks. If you fall, your world will follow. The vision ended. Raiden opened his eyes, sweat dripping down his face. He now understood. This was no longer about XER. And this was no longer just about him. It was about Earth. About billions of lives. About stopping a darkness older than time. And he couldn't do it locked away. He had to escape. He had to take back the blade, and he had to stop the greatest betrayal the galaxy had ever known, before it consumed everything. Secrets of the blade of darkness surrounded him. No sound, no time, no hope. Rayden sat alone in his Saran, where even light was afraid to follow. His hands were tied with energy binds, and his thoughts raced in circles. The blade was gone, taken, locked away by those who once protected it. And now, above him, the city was crumbling under attack by machines powered by an evil no one truly understood. And worse, he had seen what came next. Earth, broken, skies on fire, shadows feeding on cities. It wasn't just a dream. The blade had shown him. And now, it was showing him something else. His eyes open, but not in the cell. He stood inside a massive Hull made of stars and glass, floating in a void. The blade hovered in front of him, glowing with silver fire. A voice spoke not from the blade, but through it. "You seek answers." Raiden nodded. "I need to know, what are you? Why me?" "They..." Hull shifted. Stars turned. Images appeared in the air, fragments of a forgotten history. Thousands of years ago, a race known as the Aetherians discovered something buried beyond time. A dark force that existed before creation. It was not alive. It was hunger itself. They called it the Void-born. To stop it, they forged a weapon not of metal, but of memory and light, the Zarelith blade. But it wasn't just a sword. It was a prison key. It was also a warning. And it required a soul not of power, but of pain, hope, and heart. A soul that had lost everything and still chose to stand. Rayde and watched as the blade passed through time, hand to hand, from heroes to outcasts. Some failed, some died. One sealed the Voidborn with his own life. The blade shattered. Pieces were scattered across space, forgotten, buried. Until now. "Why did you choose me?" Raiden whispered. The blade's voice was gentle but firm. "Because you felt weak, but still moved forward. Because you ran from nothing, even when afraid. Because when no one believed in you, you still believed in others." The vision faded, and Raiden woke in his cell, heart racing, eyes wide, but he was not alone anymore. A soft light appeared in the corner. Iran. The old alien moved quickly, deactivating the binds with the stolen key. "They're planning to destroy the blade," Siren said. "They fear it now. They say it's too dangerous." "Because it chose you." Raiden stood. "Then we need to get to it first." "No," Siren said. "You need to leave." Raiden frowned. "What?" Siren held out a small stone. "This will open a path to the deep sands, far beneath Zirin. The blade's true origin is buried there. You must see it, understand it, complete the bond." Raiden hesitated. "Go," Siren said. "I'll distract them." Without another word, Raiden ran through the hidden exit. Above, explosions rocked the council tower. The city was falling into chaos. But below the surface, secrets waited. 3 hours later, deep in the ancient sands of Ziran, far below even the old cities, Raiden walked alone through caverns untouched by time. The walls were covered in glowing runes, moving, alive. The air was thick with forgotten power. Finally, he reached a massive door. It opened by itself. Inside, he found the forge. Not a fire forge. A memory forge. In the center hovered a massive crystal, the core of the blade, glowing with fragments of every soul who had ever held it. And then he saw her, the girl from the vision, a child, maybe 12, holding a broken shard of the blade, earth behind her burning. A voice echoed, "The blade is not whole, not yet." Raiden stepped closer. The forge pulsed. He saw hundreds of versions of himself, choices he never made, paths never taken, lives unlived. "What is this place?" The blade responded, "This is the truth. I do not give power. I reveal it. If you wish to carry me fully, you must face what lies beneath your heart." The chamber darkened. A shadow walked forward. It looked like Raiden, but twisted, angry, cruel. "You could have let them die," the shadow said. "You could have taken the blade and run, become a god, ruled planets. But you're too weak." They fought not with swords, but with memory. Rayde, and thrown into visions, his worst. Failures, his pain, his fears, but through it all, he kept getting back up. Bloodied, broken, still standing. "I don't want to rule," he said. "I don't want to be a god. I just want to protect what others gave up on." The shadow screamed and vanished. The forge turned white-hot. Blade reformed before him whole for the first time in 1,000 years, and it chose him fully. Armor of light wrapped around his body. Ancient knowledge entered his mind. His eyes glowed with the fire of stars. He wasn't just holding the blade now, he was the blade. But then, a whisper from the forge. The other shards are waking. The girl is calling. The void is rising. Raiden turned far behind him. The ground shook. He could feel it. The seal had broken. The Voidborn was free. Asterisk war breaks the sky. The stars were no longer safe. Above Zirin's orbit. Hundreds of warships hovered in silence, each from different worlds. Different species, different beliefs. Some came to fight. Some came to flee. And some came to take the blade for themselves. Below them, Zirin burned. The skies were cracked by fire. Pieces of the council towers had fallen. The old city had become a battlefield. Alien soldiers, rogue machines, and shadows moving faster than thought. Chaos ruled the streets, and in the middle of it all stood Raiden, but he was not the same man anymore. The blade now pulsed in his hand like it was part of his body. Ancient armor covered him, glowing softly with a light that bent space around. Inside his mind, he felt the presence of every bearer before him, their memories, their fear, their final moments. And now, it was his turn? He moved through the battlefield like a storm cutting down shadow machines, shielding civilians, calling out to the defenders. Gather the living, fall back to the forge gate. They obeyed without hesitation, not because he ordered, but because the blade was choosing its path. And that path was war. But not all followed him. Above, inside the command ship of the Krullen fleet, High General Zarek slammed his fist into the console. The blade bearer is too dangerous. We attack now. His advisors hesitated. The Voidborn is awakening. He's our best chance. No, Zarek hissed. He's human, weak, unproven. We take the blade and finish this our way. With a single word, he ordered his ships to descend missiles, locking onto Zirin's surface. Meanwhile, in a hidden temple beneath the old ruins, Raiden stood before Elder Zirin for the last time. You were right, Raiden said, voice heavy. It was never about power. The blade is alive. It remembers. It chooses. Zirin nodded. And it suffers. Every time one of its bearers falls, it remembers the pain. Raiden looked to the sky. Then it's about to feel a lot more. A tremor shook the temple. And then another. But this was not an explosion. This was something else. The forge. Behind them cracked. A long dark shadow slipped from it like oil in the shape of a man. Then a voice. Not sound, but thought. You've awakened the blade. Good. Now let's see if you survive it. The Voidborn had arrived. It took no solid shape. It wore no armor. It didn't need to. It was made of fear, of failure. It whispered in every mind, showing them their worst selves. Soldiers dropped their weapons, screaming. Others turned on each other. Some dropped to their knees, begging for mercy. Raiden alone stood firm. The blade vibrated. It glowed like a star being born. He stepped forward. You're not fear, he said. You're nothing without it. The Voidborn laughed deep, like thunder in a dead world. And yet you carry so much of it. It attacked not with weapons, but with memories. Raide, and fell to his knees. He saw Earth, his home burning, his mother calling for help, his own hands doing nothing, his friends gone. Himself holding the blade and failing. But then, behind the pain, a voice whispered. Not the blade, someone else. A girl's voice. Don't stop. You're not alone. Raiden's eyes snapped open. The blade flared. He rose and struck. The clash shook the sky. every ship above. Ziran felt it like time itself cracked for a moment. The Voidborn screamed, not in pain, but in surprise, that it had never been struck by truth, not by hope, not by defiance. But this was only the beginning, as Raiden fought the Voidborn. The alien fleets above made their move. Zar IX gave the final order. Fire. Dozens of missiles launched straight toward Raiden's location. Calder. Siren saw them first. They're going to destroy the forge, he shouted. Rayd and turned. The Voidborn laughed, retreating into the smoke. Even your own kind fears you. Blade gave Raiden a choice: escape or defend. He chose to stay. He raised the blade. Energy surged from it in all directions, forming a dome of white light. The missiles hit. Explosions filled the sky. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the light remained. Rayd. Ian stood in the center, shielding not just himself, but thousands. He collapsed to one knee. The blade dimmed. He was alive, but weakening. And the Voidborn was watching. Far above, in the black of space, something stirred. Second seal had cracked. There was more than one Voidborn. There were many, and they were waking up. The warrior and the blade become one. Space was no longer silent. From the edge of the known galaxy, the seals had shattered, not one, but all seven. The Voidborn were no longer myths or whispers in old records. They had returned. Seven ancient beings, each formed from a different fear: rage, despair, guilt, betrayal, doubt, pride, and the final one: hunger. A hunger that consumed light, hope, and time. Across dozens of planets, stars began to flicker and fade. Gravity cracked, memory twisted. Entire civilizations forgot who they were, as darkness erased them. And yet, on the war-torn planet of Ziran, a single human stood between the Voidborn and everything that remained. His name was Raiden, but he was no longer just a man. Inside the fallen forge, Raiden stood with the Zarelith blade, glowing with full power. His armor had changed, sleeker, more alive, shifting with light and memory. Fragments of every blade bearer before him whispered in his mind. They weren't just memories now. They were part of him. Elder Siren approached, his body weak, his voice trembling. "You are the last," he said. "The blade is no longer a weapon. It's a soul. And now it's yours." Raiden didn't reply. His mind was focused. He could feel the Voidborn coming, ripping through reality like knives. Entire skies were bending around them. Seven dark shapes descended from the stars like gods of ruin. Ships fled. Defenses failed. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Hopeless. But Raiden stood at the edge of a ruined cliff, alone. Waiting. And when the Voidborn landed, he walked toward them. No army, no backup, no plan. Just the blade. The final battle didn't begin with war cries. It began with silence. Then a whisper. "You cannot stop what we are," said the tallest Voidborn, a figure made of writhing black chains and fire. "We are the end. We were before time, and you are dust." Raiden's voice was calm. "You fed on fear. Now feed on mine." And then he ran forward. The battle broke reality. Each strike from Raiden's blade sliced through time itself, revealing flashes of the past and glimpses of what could be. Cities that never were. People who never lived. Futures stolen. Each Voidborn, attacked with their domain pride, turned Raiden into a false god in his mind. Guilt dragged him through memories of everyone he couldn't save. Doubt made his hands tremble, but he kept fighting, because the blade burned brighter with every fear he faced. And then came the seventh. The hunger. A massive shadow that blotted out the stars. It did not speak. It devoured. It swallowed the sky itself. Raiden's armor cracked. His blade flickered. He fell to one knee. Visions flooded him again. Earth destroyed. The girl in the desert crying. Siren fading. The universe collapsing. He had one choice left, not a strike, not a shield, not a surrender. He whispered to the blade, "You were never meant to be held, only understood." He stepped forward, arms open, and let the blade enter him fully. A flash of white light burst outward. The star stopped. Voidborn screamed, not in fear, but in confusion. Raydn was gone. But not dead. He had become the blade. What followed became legend. A wave of light shot across the galaxy, burning away the Voidborn, sealing them once again. Not in prisons of stone or metal, but inside memory itself. No longer feared. No longer forgotten. Remembered. The armies stopped. The sky cleared. The survivors stared upward. But Raydn never returned. On Earth, years later, in a dry desert, far from any city, a young girl walked across the sands. She stopped. Buried in the dust was a single shard of silver light. It pulsed softly. And as she touched it, the blade whispered one word. "Ready?"